Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast. Today's guest has spent nearly 3 decades inside high-pressure environments, first surviving childhood shaped by war in Beirut, then navigating 2 decades in engineering and mining. Today, she's a certified neuroscience coach, TEDx speaker, and the founder and CEO of Mind, Soul, Purpose, or MSP Teambuilding, the host of the Neuro Leadership Edge podcast, and after 2 years of research and conversations with C-suite leaders across 5 continents, the author of the forthcoming book, Calm Under Fire, The Leadership Skill No One Taught You. Please welcome to the show, Claire Hayek. Hi, Claire.
Hi, how are you?
Great to have you on the show. So much to talk about. Let's start here. You described growing up in Beirut during the war as something that teaches you fast. What did those early years teach you about pressure that no classroom could ever do?
Great first question. I only understood this later in life, obviously. What I really understood that back in those days, you don't really understand pressure. You don't even know that that's pressure. You just know that people are acting a certain way. Their facial expressions are changing when pressure hits. They are managing the situation. You're trying to understand why things are happening, why things are changing. But what you do is you just adapt and you just go with it, right? Because the adults are creating a safe environment for you as a child. So you just go with it because you know that following that pattern is going to save you. So your brain is slowly installing these patterns in basically in your routine, where it says, when this happens, you do that. So if I fast forward in my, professional life, for me personally, the pattern that was installed is you need to keep moving, you need to keep going, because moving and going and not stopping equals safety. And that relates to my earliest childhood, where unexpected will happen and we would hear bombs or something would go on the radio to say, alert, brace for your life, something is happening, you're going to be bombed, etc. Then you have to basically find a shelter and get to safety. So what do? We run. We moved on. We're doing something, you leave it, you move on to safety. You go to find the shelter. You run sometimes even when you're hearing the bombs, you're running across a street to the end of the street to get to a shelter. And I didn't realize all this, but as a child, it was like, oh, okay, that's what we do. It wasn't dramatic, but you do feel the fear. You do feel something is off. You do feel that tension. And you know that tension goes away when you're in the shelter. Now we have a whole different environment where we're playing cards, we're getting together with the neighbor kids. It's like, school is off. It's all fun. So run, uncertainty, pressure, danger, run. Now you're safe. It's wonderful. This is fun, So then you kind of translate that in your childhood and you go, okay, so when pressure is hitting, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling overwhelmed. So the brain is going to default to run, move on to the next thing. Keep going. Because if you stop, maybe a bomb is going to fall on your head. Not literally, but you know what I mean. So this was huge realization for me in my adulthood life after years in engineering, when I hit a wall and I literally had to stop and look at all of this and go, why? Why do I do this? What is this pattern? There's a pattern. Hold on a sec. Nobody told me there was a pattern. It was really a big moment of self-awareness and understanding how my brain works and how it's serving me, or actually not serving me, and hasn't been serving me for a long time, because it was defaulting to an early childhood pattern that kept me alive then, but it didn't have to keep me alive later when I didn't have a bomb actually falling on me. It's extremely interesting, honestly.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about that. When did you realize the patterns that you developed surviving pressure as a child were the same patterns showing up in your leadership?
It took me a long time. And this is why I'm writing a book, because I want to save people the time.
Absolutely.
No regrets, absolutely no regrets. I think we all have to go through a process to understand certain things at a deep level, and that's a blessing. I hit a wall. I was married and I got divorced, but it was a whole buildup of things. I had done an executive MBA, that revealed a lot of things to me on where am I going? What am I doing? Is engineering is the thing that I want to continue doing? Always had the entrepreneur blood in flowing in me. And so there was a lot of questioning at a certain point in my life. And then I hit a wall after the divorce. I felt that, I really had to stop. Actually got into an accident. I talk about all this in the book. And it wasn't about the accident. It was about what I did after the accident. I literally drove the car, rented a car, and went to work. We're talking 30 minutes after a total loss.
Wow.
Right. And then again, I don't want to be judgmental here towards the situation, but that was the thing. And my colleagues told me at the time, and thank God, said, "What are you doing? Go get checked. Maybe something happened. Maybe you have a concussion. Maybe, and I'm fine. It's just the car. Like I was okay. All this to say, do you see the pattern? Keep going, keep going, keep going. And then that's when I was forced to stop because obviously I had pulled the muscle somewhere that I wasn't realizing I did. And what that moment did is force me into stopping, literally, physically stopping. Then I was in my apartment a month or two after my divorce and I'd moved on. I had moved out and now I was alone in my apartment and just sit in silence with nothing I can do. I can't work. I can't do anything. I need to rest. And this is when the work started. And I realized I can't sit still. What's happening to my nervous system? And this is where the whole process started and actually went on for a good 10 years. And therapy, physical therapy, seeing a therapist, talking through these patterns, PTSD, and quite honestly, it could have been anything. You don't have to go through a war to go through a therapy like that. I think we all have things to look at. And again, later when I was in entrepreneurship, hit another wall. I was turning 50 the following year. And just the year before that, I was questioning everything again and going, what am I doing with my life? And this really helped me kind of zoom in even further on this pattern. And now I needed to dive even deeper into the understanding, not in a therapy outside of me, but a self-therapy. And this is when I dove into neuroscience and I went to conferences and I did so much research and I just wanted to understand what my brain was doing to me and why. Why was it doing that? And not brain being the bad guy or the bad gal, the brain being the thing that all it cares about is keeping you alive. That's it. It doesn't care about your ambitions and what you want to do. So, but why is that pattern of keeping me alive not serving me and standing in my own way to be able to play at the level I was meant to, I was built for? And this is where I really dove deep. And this whole framework actually was created and going, I need to bring this to my clients, to the people I work with. And obviously it was tested and applied many times and proven to be such a big game changer to a lot of founders, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people going through this. And I'll be honest with you, we all do. We all have that survival patterns. We just need to stop and question and say, is this really serving me right now? Or is it not? Is it standing in my own?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Let's talk about the neuroscience of pressure. You often say pressure doesn't just slow decision making down, it quietly changes it. What's actually happening in the brain when a leader hits a high stakes moment?
It's simple. When you're under pressure, the brain thinks, okay, something is happening. There's uncertainty. Actually, that's the pressure kind of weighing in on you, right? So it could be an uncertain situation. You could be in a way to a certain feel threatened. So it's not like a bear is chasing you, but the brain doesn't know the difference. It sees that something is going on. We need to get back to safety here. And so when pressure is hitting, the whole body, the blood flow goes through the survival brain, the amygdala, that is designed to keep you alive. So now you're more alert, your focus is narrowing, you need to run for your life kind of response. The body responds that way. When you're in that brain, in your survival brain, you're obviously not in your thinking brain, in your analytical brain, or in your creative brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, the brain CEO. that basically where your skills, your clarity, decision making, alignment, focus lives. That's what really you use on a day-to-day basis when you're not under pressure. So when you're in amygdala, the survival brain, the blood is flowing there. Your blood is not flowing into your brain CEO. So what happens? Now you're making decisions. You are acting from a pattern that has kept you alive in the past. So it could be anything. And that's pretty much is developed at the age of 3. If I remember correctly, research has shown that you start brain develops a survival pattern at the age of 3. So it says, okay, how do I keep this child alive, and understanding what's happening around them? And so we default to this survival pattern that's been serving us, in quotes, right? If this is audio, so it's been serving us all this time and kept us alive. The brain goes to that because, like, okay, I've always done that. That's always kept me alive. So I'll give you an example. Maybe you default to a control pattern. Now you're under pressure, so you need to really focus and narrow onto control. I need to control the situation, every single aspect of it, because that's what saves me. So is that really the pattern that is serving you and your team right now? Is it really serving you even in your life, in your personal life right now? So we don't stop and think. We can't, because we're in our survival brain. That's only job is to keep us alive using a pattern that we've practiced and rehearsed and used over and over again over so many years. So this is what happens. And this is why there's a hidden cost due to pressure. Because when you're in that brain, you are not really acting out of alignment, focus from your brain CEO. And so what is that costing you? Nobody stopped and thought about it. Nobody's stopping and talking about it. This is why I really want to bring this forward. If you're making a decision from your survivor brain, are you really making the perfect, the most aligned, the most focused and clear decision that's going to serve you right now and serve your team or the people around you? Have you ever stopped and asked yourself that question? Have you even been self-aware of what is my survival pattern? What do I tend to do when pressure hits? Do I default to control? Do I default to speed? Do I default to compliance and say yes, yes, yes? Do I go silent? Or I mean, there's different archetypes I talk about, and I will be sharing these tools by the way. In if you care to share it with your audience, you can
Absolutely.
assessment and understand what archetype you are under pressure. So the idea is to be self-aware of these patterns. It's not about judging yourself and going, oh my God, I'm so controlling. I can't believe it. That's horrible, because that doesn't help anybody. It's about just understanding, here it is, I'm being controlling. Here it is, I'm moving too fast. And then once you're self-aware of your pattern, now you can put your finger on it, and you can, with a bit of self-awareness and practice, go, okay, I'm in my survival brain. I'm over controlling and nitpicking on everything right now and re-questioning everything. Is this really what I need to do right now in light of the situation? But what's happening. That's when you can stop it. You can reset it and make a decision. I still want to keep going, and I want to control because I need to right now. And that's really what I'm comfortable with right now. Or you can create enough space around you to be able to bring yourself back into your brain CEO and now make the right decision, be more aligned, be more focused on what is going to serve the situation. So pressure is not the bad guy. It's really how we act and who we become. It is really more the problem, I gotta say, or the challenge. It's knowing how to control and be self-aware of what pressure is doing and how we can redirect this to our advantage, as opposed to have pressure run us. We want to work with pressure and direct a certain way, as opposed to automatically react to a default that is random at this point. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Yeah, it does. And you brought up, pressure proofing leadership. Let's talk about that. You've compared your work to that of a structural engineer, finding the lines that crack before the load reveals them. I was like, man, I've got some cracks in my life. So
welcome to
how,
the club.
I was gonna say,
You're
okay, so I'm not
normal.
alone. I'm not alone. Okay.
You're normal. You're normal. We all do. We
That's
all
good.
do. Yeah.
That's good to know. How does that metaphor show up in the actual work that you do with leadership teams? Like, where do you see this?
Yeah. So the first step when I work with leadership teams is to do a couple of assessments and understand where is the gap. There's always a gap. Okay. I mean, if you're 100% aligned, you are focused, you are great. I'm not saying there's always, you never know, right? But usually there's something. So we identify where that gap is. Where are we misaligned? Where is communication breaking? How are decisions being made? What is not serving us right now as a team? Okay. So assessing and measuring is very important because how do you want to correct and put put the reinforcement bars onto your structure if you don't know where the load is and where those fine fracture lines are forming, or hopefully we get there before that and we reinforce knowing what kind of load is coming, right? So we do that through assessments to understand. It's as if, think of the engineer again. If you use the example of the structural engineer is going to come in and literally inspect the structure and see, is it still holding? Is the load causing any premature fracture lines? So that's the assessment. If you don't measure, you don't inspect, you don't know. So that's the first part. The second part is installing this support that will keep the structure together and reinforce the foundation based on either what's happening right now, that extra load already applied, or what's coming. Knowing, let's say you're going through a transformation, ideally, we are anticipating this. We don't do it once the fracture lines are there. There's just way too much work to do once the cracks are there. And sometimes it's inevitable. You're probably already in the fracture before we have to rebuild. But ideally, and most of the time, we get in just when there's some signs, fracture lines showing. And what I do is I do a pressure diagnostic and we put a number on, dollar value on the cost of inaction. And typically we look at a situation that happened recently where that it cost you time, it cost you retention, it cost culture to a certain, cost you a culture damage to a certain extent, cost a reputation with your clients. And nobody's looking at that and putting a number on it. It's not showing in your financial statement, but it is there. So when you look at the cost,
Right.
you go, whoa, hold on a sec. That was one decision that was misaligned that cost me $150,000. So how many of these decisions that my leadership is making and I'm making per quarter, and what is the cost? So you want to go in and make sure that we eliminate these, so minimize the cost as much as possible as we work through this commitment or engagement and way of working together, understanding how we're reacting and how this is serving us or not, and installing a new way to do things as a team that becomes our default. We're not guessing. We're not saying this is what we need to do. This is a situation we're going through now. Where we get into a meeting, we decide what we want to do. We're doing 1, 2, 3. Great. Everybody goes to do the 1, 2, 3. And everybody's under pressure and everybody's defaulting to their survival pattern. And then 1, 2, 3 becomes 6, 7, 8 for one, and it becomes 10, 11, 12 for the other one. And one person applies the 1, 2, 3, but everybody else is pulling in different directions because they're not even aware they're doing it. They think they're doing what we said in the meeting, but everybody's pulling, like I said, in different directions. What happens? Nothing is moving forward. And that's where the structure just is literally just fracturing right in front of our eyes. And this is the thing that nobody understands. And they go, well, what do you mean? Well, do you know what your default is under pressure? Who are you becoming? You might be very calm and very aligned in calm conditions. And this is what they train us for in leadership. We are trained to operate in calm environments. We are not trained to operate in, let's say, day to day. And I'm not exaggerating, because when in your day, you could tell me that nothing ever happened that was just the perfect day from the beginning till the end, unless you're on vacation and not working, right? And even still, maybe something happens, you're driving and you get a flat, who knows? But that's life. That's life. But that's the thing, is that we're always surrounded by pressure, and we never stop to think, what am I defaulting to when who am I becoming when pressure is hitting? And is this behavior helping me or standing in my own way?
So, for a leader who's listening right now who senses something is off in their team, there's something wrong, but they can't quite name it, what's the first crack that they should be looking for?
Hopefully there's no crack yet. But let's say
Shoot. Okay.
we honestly, the best thing to do is to do an assessment to understand the performance and pressure scorecard that I call, that again will be shared with your audience. If you're doing the scorecard, it's about 5 to 6 minutes. It'll tell you what your pressure default is, in a way where's that gap. It'll identify the gap of what pressure is costing you as a leader, as well as your team. So it will give you a score on how pressure proof your leadership is, and how pressure proof your team is. And how is there a gap between both? Are you holding the whole team? Are you carrying the whole team through pressure because you're so solid and your score is high, and your score is so low? Or is your team carrying you? Or are you both kind of low? Are you both high? So that's where the first measurement tells you, where is the gap? What is it costing you? And then of course there's other assessments that I encourage, is to find out which archetype you are when it comes to what is your pressure default as a leader. And I look at 5 different patterns. There's the control. Do I get more controlling? Do I go silent? Do I speed everything up? Do I get more compliant? Or is it the collapse archetype, which is the decision making stops and you just avoid everything. Avoidance basically taking over. So you start just forwarding decisions to others. You're not taking any more shit. You just kind of like disappear in a way. And this is also a way to understand, okay, well, this is my default pattern under pressure. And this is where the gap is. And then usually what I encourage people is let's get on a call. And I offer this with pleasure, to talk it over. It's like, what does that mean, Claire? That's great. I know what my archetype is. I know what pressure is breaking right now in my team. What does it mean? And what can I do about it? And that's where the conversation starts.
Wow. I mean, you do a lot of transformation and help teams and leaders carry weight. You mentioned that a lot of leaders carry the pressure for their teams. I see that a lot. What are you seeing right now in leadership teams that you work with as they try to navigate transformation and the day-to-day execution all at the same time?
Right now, there's a lot of uncertainty, whether it's political, geopolitical, what's happening right now in the world. I'm not going to go into the details, and a lot of disruption. So the book is called The Leadership Skill Nobody Taught You: Calm Under Fire in the Age of Disruption. It's called Calm Under Fire. The subtitle is called Calm Under Fire in the Age of Disruption for a reason, because this is where we're at. And how can I not mention AI? A lot of organizations need to kind of pivot, transform. AI transformation is happening right now in all organizations. Now, even if you're growing, it's still there. So there's the growth that, when you're growing too fast or not fast enough, M&As, maybe in certain cases of clients I've worked with, where how do you integrate a new culture? How do you merge everything? How do you get to understanding how do we rally people and not lose people, right? And how do we keep reinforcing that culture? And then there's, like I said, just AI transformations, putting a lot of pressure on the CIOs and their teams and the leadership team. And a lot of people are going so many different directions. There's a lot of misalignment. People are not really clear on it, and they don't have the language to deal with this. They don't have the framework to reset and get into the right kind of brain, and where the alignment, the skills, and everything that we know and we are strong with, we're talented. People are not tapping into it, and now we're going into in 3-4 different directions while we're trying to apply an AI transformation across an organization, even if it's small. These are the challenges that we're seeing right now, and the uncertainty, political. Where are we going? Are we even gonna, energy depletion? Are we even, like, let's say for event organizations, Do we need to have a plan B, C, D, and E now? Because who knows where maybe war is going to break, or it's a lot going on. And honestly, we can take a whole podcast talking about the issues right now in the world. But I think listeners right now are probably going, yeah, I can give you two right now in my organization. But regardless of what's happening, that we're in the age of disruption or not, I want to bring it back to the core. Even when the conditions are somewhat calm, there's pressure at home. There's pressure with parenting. There's pressure with maybe your health. There's pressure at work. There's pressure everywhere. That's life. Life is challenging, right? And the question is, do you want pressure running you, or do you want to be able to understand what pressure is doing and redirect it so this can serve you and you are able to upgrade yourself to a point where you're really playing at the level you were built for? That is the question, because no matter which time we are in, what's happening in the world, that's just the nature of life. But I got to say, it's pretty interesting times right now, I believe, mainly with the AI transformation, because we're going through a transition that nobody understands. I mean, we get it. We're applying AI. I'm not talking about that, but we don't know where this is going, how that's affecting our kids, how this is going to affect the future of leadership, the future, period, education, and the list goes on. And that's major.
So without giving everything away for the new book, Calm Under Fire, what's one idea in the book that you think will surprise leaders the most?
There's a couple of things, if I may. One thing is the realization of how much it's costing you already, that hidden cost, putting your finger on how is this, looking at yourself, your life, and what's happening right now. The second one is that there's a choice and there's another way. There's a way that you could develop. There's a framework. There's things you could do, and they could be very easy things. It doesn't have to be a big framework, right? At an individual level, to say, I want to be able to direct literally myself out of my survival brain into my brain CEO, because I want to working at the level that I was built for. I want to be that best version of myself that I could be. And this is something that is attainable to. I can show up with calm authority no matter what's happening. I have a choice, and that's an ability that I can develop. I do not have to default to my survival brain. I have a choice, and I could literally redirect my attention and put it back into my brain CEO, where this is going to serve me and that's going to really help me get through XYZ. And this is the whole point of the book, is to bring that awareness and help people understand that there is a way. And now the choice is in your hand. Are you going to choose that, or you just going to go and default to that brain is not really serving you?
So for someone who picks up Calm Under Fire, they read it, what do you want them to do differently in their very next high stakes moment?
Pause, slow down, stop, look at yourself and say, okay, where am I right now? What state am I in? Am I in a state to make a decision right now? What do I need to do? Do I need to take a bit of time? Do I need to just breathe? The pause is so important. And I'm not talking about performing calm. I'm talking about literally calming yourself down, your nervous system down, to be able to default back into your brain CEO before you take the next step. And we rarely stop. And I'm not talking about a full day. It could be like 60 seconds or to 90 seconds. Interrupt that automatic survival loop and redirect it to where it serves you. Easy one.
I love it. Pause. I seriously need to do that more. So that's probably what I needed to hear. That's why I asked the question. So Claire, where can my audience connect with you? Where can they find you? Your podcasts, your books, all that stuff.
Best way, clairehayek.com. All the resources are there. You can connect with me through the website. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. Again, all the links will be in I believe in the description. I'm on all socials. I'm everywhere. So
that's right.
You can definitely get a hold of me. And we're going to share as well the pressure reset scripts that I would love to share with the listeners, where you can just download them. They're free. I'm giving these away.
Great.
You can start right away. Even if you don't reach out, you can start right away and apply these and say, oh, wow, there's things I can actually do to reset myself and get back into my brain CEO. Very, very useful. And actually also helps you develop your own, because sometimes, we have a starting point and realize this is working for me, but I can do this instead. And this really, because it speaks to me. Great tool. And there's a couple of assessments as well that people can do. And of course, I would love for people to join the early readers group, where you get pre-launch access to the book. I would love to have you as well. And really, I'm going to be sharing exclusive things for people that have joined the Early Readers Club. They will get a pre-launch copy, free draft of the manuscript before anybody else, before September 9th. And I might be throwing a couple of surprises as well, and do a webinar or two just before the pre-launch. But I encourage people to join the club. That's clairehayek.com/book. Easy. And the book, again, the title has been changed. I want to put it out there and I'm sorry I haven't kept you up to date with it. But Calm Under Fire is there, but the title is The Leadership Skill Nobody Taught You. The subtitle being Calm Under Fire in the Age of Disruption. And that's the book. And hopefully it serves you, and I would love to hear from you. Any of you, please do reach out if I can help in any way.
The book is Calm Under Fire. She also has her own podcast, so make sure you go subscribe to her podcast. If you like this episode of the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And you can sign up for our newsletter. It's free. We give you all the good stuff. Claire, it has been an absolute honor to have you.
And I really appreciate it. And I truly hope that this episode is, for people listening right now, that it's going to serve you. Just stop and at least have that awareness that maybe I should look into this, and do your research. Whether you reach out to me or it doesn't matter. Do your research. You owe it to yourself to do it. And I appreciate you giving me the platform to talk about this and hopefully have a ripple effect of some sort.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself, so we're going to end it right there. Claire, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for listening to the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast. Highlights and resource links are available for you in the show notes. We hope that you will join us next week as we continue on the leadership journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out, and share with others so they don't miss out. See you next week.